So we're up to Shin Lamed Hey Seif Gimel. Says the Mechaber, Nizdamnu Lei Archim. If guests show up, maybe Kli Acher v'kolet Kli Acher v'yitzaref. So you got a problem because your barrel has split, it's leaking, and you want to save the contents. So you've got guests. If guests show up, then maybe Kli Acher, they can bring another keli. For kolet Kli Acher v'yitzaref, and they can bring another keli and they can save the contents by attaching something so that it flows into another kli. You can't bring lots of kalim and then say bring archim and bring guests afterwards. And moreover, you can't do a haramos, this sort of trick to invite guests that don't really need food, because you're only doing it to save the contents of your barrel. Meal, says the Ramah, but if you went and did it, then it's okay. Alright, we're up to Shin Lamed Hey Sif Gimel. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Yudalef, V'lo Yarim, I'm going to Ram Shekosa, the Das Ramah Mutter Laharim B'zeh Lechatchila. The Lechatchila, even Lechatchila, you are allowed to do this. And that's really who the Ramah quotes, who says at the end, that is the Ramah is quoting the Rambam. But the Mechaber is not going like the Rambam. That if you hadn't already invited your guests, they can't do this harama, they can't bring their own kelim to help you save the contents of the barrel. That's when it will be also until Motzei Shabbos straight away. After Motzei Shabbos, you can do it. You can benefit from it. If, however, the whole thing was on b'sheigeg, i.e., sheshogeg bedin, you just didn't know the halacha, you made a mistake about the halacha, Shabbos, or another type of shegeg, of course, is that you forgot it was Shabbos, then mutar lehonos mizeh, af b'Shabbos afilu loi, even you can benefit from it, even on Shabbos, v'kolshkin lacher, and certainly for other people. Okay, good. Dalet. Im yazov tiresh migigis shalanovim. If wine is dripping, flowing from a barrel of grapes, shadayin nidruchu, that have not yet been pressed, shenimtzu oisei hadelef, that it comes out that the drippings eina roya shara mashkin shezovu asurim. The halach is mashkin shezovu is also because you might come to press on Shabbos, which is schita. You can't do that. Ve'eina rishai losum kli tachtov, and you can't put a keli under it because that's kli. There's mevatel kli mechonei shemevatle mechonei. You're making it muktzah. Ketzad yazeh. So what should you do? Yaniach sham mitoser shulchanei. You got a trick. You can bring your bed or your shulchan to under the dripping keli. V'ozia oisei hadelef lefon of graf shel rei, and then it becomes an unusable place, a disgusting place. And then v'yuchel aniach sham kli lekabel hadelef kadei sheyaseh sham tit, that there won't be a mess on the bed or on the table, and therefore you can put a keli there to prevent it becoming messy. Or cheshiyismalei hakli, and then when the kli fills up, lo yizrukenu b'kli acher, don't pour it into another kli, shelo yivatel mechoneh, because this liquid is ultimately muksa, you can't use it. So therefore, pouring it into another kli is a problem of mevatel kli mechoneh. Elemerika b'toich hagigis shezovu hamashkim mimenu. What you do is you pour it back into the bowl or the barrel that it flowed from. Shehi mevuteles mechoneh al yedei mashkim sheba mishum mashkim shezovu, which is in any event muksa. So you're not making anything more muksa, and that is the eitzah. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Kotan Yud Gimel. Im yazov tiresh migigis. Mairi. We're talking about a barrel that's not totally split. There's a little crack in it somewhere that is dripping out, drip, drip. Shadain ein a bohol, and therefore the person is still a bit calm and is not confused and stressed because of this situation. We said previously, and therefore, were enough of the problem of it would actually be allowed to put a kli underneath it, because the inishbel legamri, if it was totally ruined and it's not just dripping out, even if you were allowed to put a kli underneath it and there weren't a problem of kli bottle kli mechone, of the bohol, because we've said previously that in the case where your bohol you can't put a kli underneath it. The grapes inside have not yet been pressed. Because if it was already pressed, then there's no problem. There's not a problem. Mashkin shezovu. Seif base. There's another eitzah, i.e., dahainu sheyitin akli mayim tachas. You put some water in the bowl where it's dripping into, because b'mayim rishon that is first being diluted into the water. Because of Magen Avram shafilu niskaven ha'isel b'soif, even if there is more issa, there is more wine which is muktzah at the end, shein yosim me'amayim, still not a problem. Less lonba. Diyesh lismech ala mekilim b'yerdeh simen kuf lamadal. You can be making like over there. V'yuchal oniach sham kli. V'af agav the soif simen shin lamadches kosav the ozel lachatchila litzin kli tachas adelef. You're not allowed to put a kli underneath a drip. The ein oisin graf shari lachatchila. You can't make something like a disgusting bowl of hard, dirty water. Lachatchila. Hachashari mishum pseida. Here we're allowed to. Commercial cost of siman shin ches siif lamed zayin. Okay, let's just finish off. Hey, nispazru lo peiros. Now, if your fruit scattered b'chotze in the courtyard, echod heino ve'echod heino, one here, one there. Melakit ma'at va'echol. You're allowed to collect in one at a time, or little bits at a time, and eat them straight away. V'lo yitin l'toich sal. You can't collect them all the spilled fruit in a basket. V'lo l'toich kupo nor in a box. If they fall in one place, then you can put them in a basket. Unless there's lots of dirt and straw and dust there. Then, in that situation, you only can collect one at a time. And then you can't put it in a basket or in a box. We'll see why in a second. Says the Mishnah Berurah, what's the problem? Sif Cotton Yud Zayin. The problem over here is it looks like a weekday activity when you're putting it in a basket. However, opposed to where it all falls in one place, and then it looks like you're putting in a basket. Even if you intend to eat it straight away, because otherwise you got a problem of beira, you got a problem of issue there. V'ayim bebeh hagra tava eichel bedafkehu al kein afilu teicheche chsusa gam kein osa litnam v'avit v'hayde mesayim l'teich sal v'kupa urcha de milsa nokat, and is therefore lav dafke a sal or a thing. If you look at footnote number 18, an interesting thing, it would get there isa bi'agon remiss and karelitz sha'isa kein nira ka'isa melocha kederech hamalaktim besodeh. Because it looks like you're doing a weekday activity. V'haisiv shemitam zeh mutter le'asef you're allowed to pick up pieces of kids' games that fell in the house. Right, that's a very motzah thing. Kids are playing. They often play Monopoly or chess by just emptying the whole contents of the packet on the floor. So what do you do then? So if you've got all pieces on the floor, that's not a problem of the dechol, because that's what kids do. They play in that way, and therefore there's no problem of collecting the pieces. However, you got to be careful of beira and things like that. What about the fruit bowl spills, and you've got oranges and apples that have sort of scattered all over the floor of the house? Is that a problem? Is that caught by this halacha of uvda dechol, of a weekday activity? Kosav HaMishnah Berurah lekamon shemutza v'kosav la'ayin kan. He says in Shin Mem that it's okay for kosav la'ayin kan and ubiyah shal shuvas on nidbru shehet zehu dafka b'shonin ispazru habe. We're dafka talking about a situation where not loads have scattered. Masha'en came ben ispazru achas lekan v'achas lekan also mishum shehu uvdin dechol. It's also because of uvdin dechol. V'chein kosav ha'chay adam v'chein mashke me'eli rabba shlehitzi lahachnisam l'toich sal ele k'she'oisa kein mishum simcha. It would be okay if it was mishum simcha, simchas Torah, right? You got kids want to collect lots of sweets on the floor. That would be okay. Ubeshal is chuvas arletzi and kosav shem nispazu b'toich habayis. If it scatters in a house, mutza af lachnitzim l'toich sal. You're allowed actually to put them in a basket or back in the fruit bowl. Ve'en bekach mishum uvdin dechol ki mishabayis mitzarfam v'nechshavim ki inu mitzvahim b'makom echad. Because really, the house sort of is all considered together. They're not scattered like they are in a courtyard. And just one last thing, 19, can you gather them with your feet? Is that allowed? So he says in 19, without putting them in a basket, but just to gather them into one area, because you're only doing so indirectly, and that would be okay. All right, that is the end of Shin Lamed Hey. In Mitzvah Hashem, tomorrow we'll start Shin Lamed Vav.